Almost any error message connected with the fuel cap or gas cap means that the air somehow escapes your fuel tank, not in the way the manufacturer wants it to be. Of course, one of the first things to check is the fuel cap. Maybe it's just not tightened, but unfortunately this is not the most common thing that triggers these kinds of messages. One of the possible things that can trigger the tighten fuel cap message or other messages like this is the glitch. So there is a glitch in the electronics because your car has pretty complicated electronics that controls the fuel tank, that controls the evaporation system, so the air that comes into the fuel tank and from the fuel tank. And these electronics may glitch. Why? Because there are voltage problems, because there are hundreds of things you can blame for this, but it's not that easy to locate this problem on your own. So maybe you will need a dealership help. And then the third thing is the EVAP system. What is EVAP system? Well, in a couple of words, EVAP system is the system that controls the air supply to your tank. When you use fuel from your fuel tank, some air should come into this tank, because otherwise there would be some vacuum in it and the fuel pump just wouldn't suck this fuel from this tank. Also, when you buy some fuel and pour fuel into the fuel tank, this air should escape somehow, right? And in older cars, everything was pretty simple. There was an air valve on the tank, and when this tank needed some air to be added into it, this valve opened and the air came in. And when you bought some fuel, this valve opened another side and the air came out. But 20 years ago or something like that, car manufacturers were told by emission control bodies that it's not the best way, because a lot of fuel vapors come out of the tank if you do this way. So they invented evaporation system, or EVAP. This EVAP actually is a canister with charcoal, and this canister has 3 holes. So one hole goes to the tank, of course, the other hole goes to the engine, and the vapors go to the engine if it's needed. And the third hole from this evaporation system is the actually breather. So the air comes in and out of this evaporation system. The idea is that all the vapors from the fuel tank go at first to the charcoal canister and then to the atmosphere or to the engine. And if the fuel tank needs some air, this air comes through the charcoal. I don't know why it's so important. So to cut the long story short, actually this evaporation system may be the problem why you see this tighten fuel cap message. And there is the last thing that is connected with the evaporation system. It's called the purge valve. The purge valve is actually the valve that lets the air from the evaporation system go to the engine. And when the engine is off, this valve is closed, so the vapors don't go to the engine. And when you turn on the engine, this valve opens, and the ECU controls this valve, because it shouldn't be open all the time. Otherwise, the engine control unit will just not know how much air comes into the engine, and you will have the shaky work of this engine. So the ECU controls this purge valve. It can close it, open it when needed. And the problem is that this purge valve can stuck closed or stuck open, and this is another reason why you can see the tighten gas cap error message on the dash. Of course, there is another reason which is not very common, but it can be like a hole in your tank. It can be a hole in the tank, or it can be a hole in the filler neck. The filler neck that comes from the car body, from the gas cap to the tank. This filler neck also can have a hole in it, and I actually had this problem in one of my cars, and it was very hard to diagnose because you don't see the leaks. Just some vapors go out of the tank and you don't see the leaks because it's petrol. So maybe the only one DIY thing you can do is to check if this fuel cap is tightened. it should be tightened to the click. Yeah, you can unscrew it and then retighten this cap till it clicks. Alternatively, you can check whether there is some mud, whether there is something blocking this cap from being tightened. The mud, the dust can accumulate here or here. You can just wipe it with a clean tissue or something and try reinstalling it. All other things like the problem with evaporative system, the problem with purge valve are not the DIY tasks. So if you still see this tightened fuel cap for a couple of days, you will probably need to go to a good repair shop and have your car inspected by a professional.